The next one of the three articles that are for this week, the next one I want to talk about is the fixing healthcare on the front lines. And I want to intersperse that, however, with the other article, which is when the Yale Medical School graduation address. And one of the things that the graduation address really embeds is sort of the role of change, and the interaction between the patient and the doctor can determine how everything else rolls out. And the Fixing Healthcare on the Front Lines article is really great because one of the things that we forget about is that management is as important as who the parts are to make the system better. And one of the things that article really talks about is how you have to manage the system. So you have to have a data collection in place. You have to help train doctors and nurses to work across lines, to work with each other, to become patient-centered in the sense of here's the patient, i.e. problem, but really patient, and how do we all use our talents to help that patient? Does every patient need the same intensity of care? Could other people also come into that system, such as nurse practitioners, nurses, and physician assistants, and help that care? How do we train doctors to understand that whenever previously they're sort of like, I work alone? But we know we can get the biggest bang for the buck for the patient, and that we can see more and do more if we have that team approach. It's a really hard nut to sort of crack, but you really have to do it in this system. First of all, you have to manage the care that people get. Everybody doesn't come in with the same needs, and there's a level of standardization that you can do, and part of what you can do with that level of standardization is you can look at using your data based on these patients. What do we see? What drugs work the best for them? What treatments work the best for them? So you actually need, as part of your management team, and this is sort of where health informatics comes in handy, somebody, and you need to know some of it too. You can't just sort of rely on another person to understand the data. So you're collecting the farm data, you're collecting the outcome data, you're collecting patient information, and you're seeing who's coming in the door. What do they have? What's working? What's not? And you are constantly reevaluating your system to address that so that the drugs that work the best for your patient population, you're using. And you're also explaining to your doctors why that is. You're not just saying, or your nurses, you're not just saying, well, this is what we got to use. You're saying, we use this because of the best outcomes. The sort of problem with some of this, or the difficulty as a manager, is you have to make everyone part of the process. And part of that means you're giving them information in the way that they can use it, in the way that they see it. You're talking to them in their language. You're talking to them about improving patient care. You're also telling them that you realize every patient isn't cookie cutter, so they might not all fit this model. So if you have a patient who is more difficult, sort of out of your bailiwick or out of your sense of what you can do, that you can go to a specialized team, and that specialized team can address those patient problems. But again, it's that sort of team approach across the silos. Nurses and doctors are working with physical therapists, with PharmDs, so that you can get that best patient outcome. This takes so much training and so much being a leader. So you can't just talk with your administrators. You have to engage with the doctors and the nurses and the intake people and the insurance people and every single component, so they understand how they fit into the mission, and they understand how you're using this information to make the system better for everybody, and making it, in one way you're making it more just, because it's not just to make people pay for things and not get the best outcome, because this is healthcare. This is not buying a car. Healthcare and being healthy means you can be an economic, social person in the world. Without health, you can't work, you can't take care of your family, you can't take care of yourself, and you can't improve and use your gifts. So it's very personal. It has an impact on every aspect of your life. So it's really important we get it right. Really important. It isn't the same thing as other businesses, so to speak. So you have to keep remembering that, and you have to explain how each person's role fits into that, but you're using data to back that up. You also might be asking them too, what data should we be collecting? What are we missing here? What else should we do? So that they're part of that, again, that sort of Six Sigma of everybody's part of a team. We're constantly working together to improve the system. It's not one person's fault, because if one thing's great and the other one isn't, then we've got to slow down and we don't get the best outcomes. When we see problems that we think are endemic, take it back to those players. Ask them, what do they think they can do? What is it about their role that we can make and use to make it better with the whole system? Again, collection of data using that technology can really, really be helpful, and we need to do that more. We need to be the leaders in that. It is not just about cost, but it is also about improving outcomes and care. And that's a really big, big center to quality and to ethics that we don't often think about. The role that data plays, the way we engage the actors, the way we make sure we're really measuring what we think we're measuring, all things that are very, 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 very central to outcomes. We do have to redesign our structures. Where does the best patient care take place? How do we engage with patients? We have to learn about how things are done in every day. Is the way we pay people the best way? Should we pay people for making people better? Should we pay people for tying it to clinical excellence, service excellence? Think about those things. What can we do to provide the best care we have with the resources we have? Not just how can we get more money to give people more stuff. Again, sometimes, and I know this is a really hard idea to get, but sometimes when we have a bit of a constraint, like not enough money, that makes us rethink and redesign the system to work better. But again, the key point is you have to engage all the actors, from housekeeping on up, in how you measure and what they think should be measured, and then taking that data back and saying, how can we make this better? If you don't do that, no redesign is going to work. And also a key component of this, and something that we have to do as administrators in healthcare, is the health of the community. We can redesign our hospitals left, right, backwards, and forwards, but if we have sicker patients coming in, and we don't have special systems set up to treat those sicker patients, and a lot of the sickness the patients come in with is preventable, then if we really want to redesign our hospitals and we really want to redesign care, we have to care about the community's health, because the healthier they are, the less resources they need when they come to see us, the quicker they get better, and the better outcomes they will have. So that's another component that other businesses don't have to think about. We don't want people needing something so much that, they have no phone, so they really need an iPhone. We want, you have some health, and this is just a glitch, and how can we improve it, versus you have 6 comorbidities, and we don't know which one to treat. So sometimes we have to go outside of this sort of institution and think about the community's health and how that feeds into the system and determines our outcomes, and we have to address that also. Even though it might be uncompensated care, it will, in the long run, or the short run in some places, really impact the level of care we can provide with the resources we have. And we have to keep that in mind. That is ethical, and that is preventable, and that is doable, and that is also our responsibility.